So we're back and we have another quick job here in the shop. This is a 1999 Lexus GS300. It's got a naturally aspirated 2JZ in it. So came in with the exhaust, well, it has none. As you can see, it ends right here halfway through the car. The problem with this thing is the owner has this thing slammed right down on the ground. There's, you know, he's got all the camera and all that other junk going on, but it hit a railroad track or something and ended up hitting this heat shield, which then came back and hit the clamp, and it ended up pulling the whole rest of the exhaust right off the car. So as you can see, you know, this heat shield makes a ton of noise here. This one up here is not in the greatest shape, and there's no exhaust. So he was able to get the exhaust back. Mind you, it's in a couple different pieces from what it was. So we're gonna fix it. We're gonna take off this heat shield here that rattles around. We're gonna take off the same up here, get rid of those, and then we're gonna weld the exhaust back together and get it back up into place so it doesn't sound like a tank. Let's get started. All right, so moved underneath the car now so you can get a good idea. This is that heat shielding right here that's moving around. So we got our 10 mil ratchet or socket on our gun. We're just gonna pull all these out. It's all cracked and destroyed, so I'm just gonna get rid of it totally. This is where there was a factory resonator, and the exhaust that's going back on this thing has nothing like that, so we don't really need it. You got plenty of room up to the floor, so you don't have to worry about it catching the car on fire or anything crazy like that. Looks like I gotta pull this cross member real quick. Not that one. No, guess we're not pulling that cross member out. All right. There you go. Okay. So that's half of the complaint there. There was some big rattle underneath, he was saying. So that's that. Now we're going to try and get this off. It's got these little pinch seams here. So what we're going to try and do, much like that, is just kind of walk a screwdriver in it and you can pry it open. Okay, there's that. We're going to try and take that little bolt out right there, but chances are it's not going to come. Chances are it's going to break. Now, same thing, we're just going to walk down the other side of it, and then we should be able to take the upper half off and the lower half off, and that should get rid of the rattles. Okay, so we got this inside all done. Just throwing on a pair of gloves here. I'm going to attempt to pull it. Okay, so that should get rid of all of the rattling issues that we have. Now we're gonna go and run over to the bench, throw the exhaust up on there, and I'll show you what we gotta do to fix that. So I just threw this exhaust up here on the bench. You can see it's some kind of custom, somebody made it, and it's got a aftermarket muffler. What is it? It's a hooker muffler on it. And then I guess there was some clearance issues in this area, so they just kind of banged it in with a hammer. But if we flip it over, so you can see it's all flattened out here and it's all scuffed. That's because this car is so low that it hits on everything. Well, I guess what happened is this would have been at the front of the car. This is what hit this little resonator, and it popped this piece out of that clamp, which then pulled the whole entire thing backward, and you know, it all fell apart. So the plan now is, what we're going to do is flip this back over, and we're going to weld this intermediate pipe to the tailpipe, if you will, the remainder of the exhaust. And then at the end, we're going to weld the muffler onto that pipe as well, instead of a clamp. And we are going to take this resonator and customer's wishes, we're going to smack this resonator down and try and gain maybe 1/2 inch of clearance on this. This all happened because I guess the car has a really nice set of wheels for the summertime, and up here it's winter time, there's snow everywhere, so he threw on his winter wheels that are actually a smaller diameter, and it lowered the car about 1 inch, and that's kind of when all this damage happened. So we're going to try and get it back together for him. You know, he wants to do a crazy custom exhaust and maybe a built motor in this thing anyways, so we're not going to go too crazy and try and fix all of this stuff right now. In case he does do a built motor, this whole exhaust isn't going to work anyway. So at that point, we can make a new one, tuck it up a little higher, and you know, help him out. So anyways, like I said, we're going to remove the clamp, weld this stuff up, and get it back on the car. Note to self, if you're gonna smash up a resonator, much like this, make the customer do it so they can't yell at you. Somebody spent some good money on this exhaust. If you look at it, let's zoom you in here, you can see it's got this like goldy brown finish. That means that this thing's 304 stainless. They spent good money. That's a really good material to make an exhaust out of. So we're gonna end up welding it with stainless wire. You wanna make sure that if you're welding stainless, you use stainless wire, or else that seam that you weld is gonna rust and break. So yeah, we're just gonna clamp it down to the table, and that'll ensure that we're flat, and the part that he smashed in on that resonator is flat to where the exhaust was ground off, which we're gonna assume is as flat as it should be, because the ground ground it to that level. So we'll just throw a clamp on it. I'll weld half the pipe on the muffler and on that joint that we just put together, and then we'll unclamp it, roll it over, weld the other part, and it's ready to go back up on the car. We're done here. All right, so we got it clamped down on the table, flat there, and flat on the part under here that's ground off. Through my little wire wheel on the drill, we're just gonna wire wheel this area here that we're gonna weld, and then the same thing back here at the muffler, so that we have a nice clean surface to weld to. So I'm not the best TIG welder, but that's my bead there. Whatever. It could use some work, but yeah, you got the gist of it. That's all the welding that we need to do. So now we should be able to put this thing back up on the car and see how the hangers line up, or if those all got mangled and destroyed as well when it got ripped off. So we'll go back and test fit right now and see where we're at. There you go. So this thing was, let's go back here to the back. So we got a hanger here, that's gonna go on there, but it's kind of janky on there. So we're gonna try and make like some kind of brace to give that a little more support. And then it's got these, I don't even know if you can see up in there, there you go. It's got these rubber hoops, and that's what's gonna go around this one, and there's one on the other side. But one of them came off on the accident. So we have one on this side. We're going to steal this one, put it over there. So let's get that ripped out and moved over. And hopefully, there we go. Hopefully we can do stuff. All right, so we got the clamps all in there. We're gonna go ahead, drop this thing down. And the only other thing is we're going to swap a pair of tires that are on it. So, yeah, what are we waiting for? Let's get it down, fire it up, and see what it sounds like.
Quieter.
Do it. 1000% quieter. Still got a bit of a rumble, but
that's what I'm talking about.
It's 1000% quieter.